In this video, we're going to learn how to work with a normal or a t-distribution. And so notice this section of StatKey is called theoretical distributions. There's 4 different theoretical distributions we could work with. They are the normal, the t, the chi-squared, and the f. We will not be working with the f. We may work with the chi-square if we have time, but probably not. The 2 most important are the normal and the t. Chapter 5 is going to focus on the normal. And you'll see the t in chapter 5, and you'll also need it for chapter 6. So we're going to start by looking at the normal. So if you click on normal, by default, StatKey is going to draw a standard normal curve. And you'll notice up here, this normal distribution has a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. But by clicking edit parameters, we could change this to any mean and any standard deviation that we want. And so notice it drew a different normal distribution that is centered at 100 and has standard deviation equal to 17. Now with the normal distribution, you're going to want to be able to manipulate the area under the curve as well as the endpoints. So anything inside of the curve, this is what we call the area under the curve. And so you can actually think of this as if you were going to cut out a piece of paper and look at a portion of the area. Whereas the endpoints, those are the values at the bottom of the graph. Now to manipulate the area inside of the curve, you're going to use this left tail, two tail, and right tail option. So let's just click on one of them. If we click on right tail, by default, it's going to place 0.025 of the area under the curve. And so again, any number that's above is giving you how much area this red portion represents. So you can imagine if you had this whole curve and you took away 0.025 of the area or cut it away, that would be equal to this red portion. Whereas the bottom number is the endpoint. So what this tells me is 0.025 of the area under the curve is to the right of the 133.318. Now suppose I wanted to know which point, in other words, which endpoint had 75% of the area to the right of it. Well, what I could do is I could change the area to be 0.75, and StatKey is automatically going to color in 0.75 of the area, and I find out that the point 88.534 has 75% of the area to the right of it. Suppose I wanted to know instead how much area is to the right of the point 120. Well, now what I would do is come down here and change the endpoint to be 120, and I would see that 120 has 0.12 area to the right of it. So this is how we can manipulate the area under the curve. And we're not restricted at only looking at the area to the right. We could reset the plot, click on left tail, and look at the area to the left. Or we could reset the plot and click on two tail. Two tail is going to look at the area in both the tails, and it's going to keep it symmetric. So if I place 0.35 here to the right of this, it's also going to place 0.35 to the left here. So two-tailed option is going to keep things symmetric. Now we may want to do the exact same thing with a t-distribution instead. So if we were going to do that, we would go to StatKey, we would click on t. Now for a t-distribution, we need to specify the degrees of freedom. So let's say we had a t-distribution with 23 degrees of freedom. This is what the t-distribution looks like. And then we could manipulate the area under the curve in the exact same way by clicking on the right tail, the two tail, or the left tail. The most important thing to remember is any number above the curve is going to give you the area. Any value under the curve is giving you the different endpoints. So the area corresponds to how much of the curve is colored in red, whereas the endpoint is corresponding to the value at the bottom of the curve.